Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. I hope you're all having an amazing day. We're starting off here with the black pieces against e4 against a 1586 from Germany. Now, what should we play today? What shall we play today? Let's go with e5. Let's go with e5. We said we were going to try improve on e5, so no better time like the present. And we go for a scotch as well. I think we take the scotch. We could play the Philidor, but that's generally considered not as good. So we'll just take that. And we see a mainline scotch. Now, as we know, several things we can do here. Mainline, also a mainline. Now there's a sideline heading towards a draw. But it's quite nice to play for black, I must say. And then we also have Queen H4. So these are the options. Oh, I guess we could take, but that's generally not considered the best. Should we try something a bit fun? Queen H4. And this is called the Steinitz variation. And it's super cool. And if white doesn't play it properly, and they need to know how to play it properly, it's really bad. But if they know how to play it properly, it gets very fun. Anyway, so either way, we're going to have a fun game, I think. Yeah, so they go knight out there, and then we go bishop there. And our whole point is just to hit this pawn. And they actually can't defend it anymore. Their move is to just give it up. We can double these. We're looking at taking this. And then we just play on. If they try to defend it, that's just bad. I think we can... Well, I mean, bishop there loses the knight. So that's probably a better choice than taking the knight. But still. Yeah, I think this is fun. I always love playing against this. And they try hang on to the pawn, which is a mistake because... They've lost a piece. Yeah. They've just lost a piece there. There's no tactics, I don't think. There's no checks. And we can just take that piece. And that's why you got to know what you're doing. If you're playing the Scotch, you have to know this because it's such an easy move for black to play. Look, I've played... What's that? 5 moves, and you're already, like, losing. You need to know this if you are playing the Scotch. And the right move is bishop there, I think. I'm pretty sure. You can let them take that because you're actually activating your rook, and it gets quite tricky. You let them take that because you can go knight there, and you're hitting forks, and it's very scary for black actually. So now they've done that, what's the best move to hang on to our advantage? Because as we know, I have a habit of messing these things up. So I think we have to play a d6 maybe, get this bishop in the game, start hunting the king. Or we could do a cheeky bishop d6 sort of move. And hunt the king that way, obviously threatening that. So g4, f4, g3, f4 potentially could work. Yeah, or we could go there. Knight there could work as well. We are getting kicked about a bit with that though. If I can draw my arrows. Play that. Then we've got... Oh, no, we don't have that because I pushed the pawn. Then we have... Then we have d6 maybe. And sack the knight. Takes. Hit the queen. Threaten to take. Check, maybe? No. Do we want to castle? We probably want to castle as soon as... Let's get the knight involved. We got to watch out for some checks. Actually, d6 would be not very good there because... Actually, no, knight covers the check. So fair enough. And yeah, I think we're just straight up a piece out the opening, which is why you need to know this Queen H4. And I knew it was going to happen because no one preps it. I mean, I got caught out with it this first multiple times I played this. I got played against this. And yeah, it's nasty, and it's nasty for a reason. Does that not just win? How do you stop that? I guess you could go F3. No, but then knight takes is horrible. Knight takes, queen takes. No, you can defend. You can defend. I'll give them that. Oh, we do have some checks to be thrown in there, which is also super scary. Now, do we go H3 here? Do we go H3? Knight G4. So H3. They could actually go F5 as well because there is no immediate threats and they have time to do something like that. There. That don't work. Let's go Queen H3 anyway. Just put pressure on. You know. If they do that, we're looking at maybe some checks, maybe takes even. Oh, so they go there. Now that just loses. That just loses. Queen takes, only move. Am I missing something? Queen takes, only move. And then resign. There's nothing much else white can do. I'll just resign here. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's a good first game. I'll give you that. Yeah, resigns. So let's. I don't know what to do now. That was a quick game, quick video. You know what? We'll cover some theory because I think you guys should know this. If you are ever planning on playing the Scotch, and I do recommend playing the Scotch, even if it's just to try it, because it is quite a cool opening. Takes, queen there. So we know this is the Steinitz variation. Yeah, knight there. Yeah, and yeah, you've got to go bishop there. And it looks like you're giving a pawn, but we'll play through it. In fact, we'll play through it from the white side because it's technically okay for white. So you go there, and if queen takes, you go knight there, and it's really quite cool. So yes, you can do bishop takes, and you never take back with the knight. You always take back with the pawn, and you accept the double pawns. You get activity with your rook, and the threat is still on. So this is saying king d8, and that is the best move. I remember that. And you can do castles here. I think that's what's the computer saying. Yeah, I don't think you can hit anything else. Maybe go bishop there, but you want to free up this bishop so you can actually kick around the queen a bit. So probably castles is right, yeah. And then it's say knight f6. And this here is actually better for white. It's plus 0.5, which I know isn't much, but from an opening, that's actually quite significant. 0.7 now. What's that one? In bishop g5. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you're pinning the knight, I guess. Just putting more pressure on. And then that's one in queen e5. Oh, that's quite cool. It's hitting both of them. Queen d2 covers the bishop then as well. So there are a lot of ways black can actually easily mess this up. First thing is to not move the king. You have to move the king. Anything else, like queen e5, doesn't work because of a tactic. Oh, castles, is it saying? No, queen f4. Oh, f4 is quite nice, yeah. Because the knight's covered by the bishop. That's covered by the queen. That's covered by the queen. You can't go there. And you've got to cover this diagonal. So those are your only two options, and they're both covered. So f4 is actually really, really nice there. And you should probably know that. because that's a tempting move to play. They could also try go for this pawn, but then you have this really nice bishop f3, and that's covering the knight and hitting the queen at the same time. So they've got to go back to g5, I believe. Is it? That's saying queen h3. Okay, but then you get the fork. So yeah, yeah. After that point, you just get the fork. That's it. What else could they do? Bishop f3. Nope. The queen e5. We covered that. Rook there. It's saying. At which point you take. King d8. And then what? What's the plan? Knight b5. Oh, you just go back and you accept that you've weakened them significantly. Okay, fair enough. So that's the main ideas behind the Steinitz line. Basically, it all revolves around this knight. You kick the queen around a lot. They think they're getting you. I mean, sure, they're up a pawn, but like, who cares? And this rook's actually getting really active in the later game, the middle game and end game. Queen's getting kicked around tons. There's threats of getting the rook in and maybe some checks around here. And yeah, it's just really nice. So we'll look at the other lines of the Scotch while we're here, because that was very quick. So you have the main line. And it's this. Now, there is a mistake that white can do. Sorry. There is a mistake that white can do. I believe maybe it starts with a different move order. Yeah, like that. And then if you take the knight, they have this tempo. And because you're threatening mate, you basically just... You think you're up a piece, but you're not. And a lot of beginners fall into this mate. And it's quite tricky. But all you have to do is not take the knight, basically. And you don't really ever take the knight in mainline Scotch. You do eventually, in some situations. But this is a perfectly solid setup, and it sort of stays like this for the whole game. Black develops, white develops, and it's just quite even. It's nice for both sides. There's not much pawn tension in the center, and it's very piece heavy. So it's just quite nice. If black goes here, there is an important move here. You actually... no, you develop the bishop, and then if they castle with the knight here, you can actually take this. And they think, oh, I've got a mating threat again. But actually, you take that knight with check. And after queen takes, you're actually just up a piece. So that's important to know. But they can always just take this with the queen. Yeah, and then I think you're all good. I don't know if that's even the right move order. But yeah, it's fine. But it's a good one to know, because they might think they're getting a mating threat and then you actually end up a piece, which is really cool. The other lines, we'll have a look at takes first. And this is just better for white. You get more developed. They're going to try trade off queens. And you don't want to give them that, because they get their knight out. So you're just going to kick it out with e5 and then queen there, and I think you are actually okay to take that. And then you're just into a middle game. You develop your pieces, castle, all that good stuff. They could also develop with their knight, and again you just kick it because you can. And after the knight there, I believe you go queen g4. Is it? Oh, this is saying just g4. That's cool. And basically you're looking at trapping the knight, sort of. Yeah, it's saying g4 actually, but that's really cool. Yeah, because you can't take them because of the pin on your queen, so you go bishop there to stop that, and then you do actually end up taking the knight, which is cool. Yeah, so knight there's not the best. They could also go queen there, and pin that, and that's the computer's saying not the best for black, but it's also saying c5, I believe, in counter threat on the queen, which is really cool. And it ends up in like a Sicilian-esque position. Also very cool. So there's a lot of really cool sidelines in the Scotch, which is another reason why I love it. You can transform it into so much other stuff, because basically all it is an E4 D4 push, and then like sort of every opening has an E4 D4 push. Yeah, it's saying Queen E3 there. Okay, that's a bit better. Oh, Queen E3. Yeah, there we go. And then you're stopping the pin, and then they go Knight D5 and you hit the queen. All right, so that's that one. Anyway, generally considered better for white if they decide to trade off. They could also play this, the Steinitz. Oh, not the Steinitz, the Schmidt, sorry. At which point you do actually take the knight. And if they take inwards, you can just take the queen. And it's fine, you can long castle. If they take outwards, though, I believe the move is actually bishop d3. And you're just holding on to this pawn. They can go there. Or they could check you. If they check you, you just bring the knight out. And again, you're fine with the double pawns. And then I think they go there. And then you can take. And then I think actually they castle. And at which point you castle as well. And after takes, you have to sort of play h3. Because there's some really nasty tactics with the queen. And some pins. And some getting the rook in. And the knight coming in. And it gets really nasty really quick. If you don't play h3. So after that, you need to know to play h3. And I think you can do that pretty much at any point, really. As long as you're not really like just letting them check you with the rook. I think you can do that, but it is really important to play h3 at this point. And I think this was actually played in the candidates for this just gone World Championship. I think it was Nepomniachtchi versus Fabi, maybe, Caruana. And they played it from a 4-knight Scotch, which basically transposes. And yeah, it's super drawish. Both players have good activity. Maybe white has damaged pawns, but it doesn't really matter because it's blockading these quite well. And yeah, it's just super equal. And then what else is there? Bishop check. And this is not very good. It basically transposes to the classical, except white's upper tempo. Basically, upper tempo. You got c3 in from blocking a check, so you're upper tempo, and it's just good for white. I mean, it's the better version of the classical, really. So you're perfectly fine with them playing that. They also could potentially go backwards. At this point, or in the classical as well. If you do something like that, or I think if you go c3 as well, they could go backwards, at which point you have to play knight f5. And that's a key move you should remember. I think maybe you could get away with taking that knight. But if you go knight f5, A, you're hitting that, and B, you're covering the bishop. So if you don't, you get rid of one of their strongest pieces with takes. So if they try cover it like that, you can do bishop takes bishop, and you're getting rid of one of their strongest pieces. And it's just nice for white, you know. Black's a bit underdeveloped. Your bishops are strong. Your knight's really strong there. And yeah, it's good. You're castling before them. What's not to like about it? You also potentially have the filler, but we know we push there. You can also take if you really want to. But that's a bit slower game and a bit more equal. What else is there? There was something else, wasn't there? Obviously, you've got the Scotch Gambit lines. Whether it's knight there, bishop there, pawn there, it doesn't really matter. I don't know much about... I like to think I know a bit about the Scotch Gambit, but I really do not have a clue. And yeah, that is pretty much the Scotch in a nutshell. It's very fun. I'll show you the transposition actually from the 4 knights. Say you do this move order, it doesn't really matter. It just goes there, and you can see how this this transposes, whether it's like that, takes, and then you go there, and then it's the very same. Oh, not king, F, whatever, there, and then takes. And you can see this is just exactly the same as the Schmidt line, just under a different name with a different move order. Yeah, so that was a quick one. Apologies for that, but I hope you learned something interesting from the theory. I think we pretty much covered all of the Scotch lines. Oh, D6 is an interesting one. They could. Did we say D6? D6 is an interesting one. It's just a bit boring. They've not got any squares really for the bishop. They could also play H3, H6, but these are very similar. It's just the typical boring passive moves that sort of mess you up in development. Maybe they could change this to a sort of fianchetto perk system. Yeah, H3 is very similar, but without the fianchetto. You still have the bishop there, but you just keep developing. Play smart. Don't fall for anything. Get castled, and in the Scotch you can castle either side. It's really nice because you've only pushed your central pawns. You can actually castle either side. So if you want a more attacking game, you can go queenside and get the rook in. Especially if you are trading queens, I would say castle queenside is a good idea. But genuinely, you are going to castle kingside. There are some f4 pushes sometimes, but I would be very careful with these, especially because this bishop, once you get castled, can be quite scary with some pins like on this knight. Especially if your bishop's behind, because then there's nothing covering it either. So I would be very careful with those. C3 is always a good move. To get your knight in the game, you can go D2 on A3. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. Or, yeah, you could just try replace the other knight. So, yeah, I hope you guys found that educational. The Scotch is actually one of my favourites. It's probably the oldest one I play. That didn't make sense. The one I've played for the longest. Is better wording, I think. So I know a fair bit about it, but I probably still need some improvements just to get it up to sort of tournament level. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all later. Bye-bye.